Hi, my name's Kate Usher and I'm the author of Your Second Phase. Now, before we go into today's session, today is all about um, ex-partners. But before we do that, make sure that you subscribe so that you get the whole of this series about dating as we run up to Valentine's Day, and that you absolutely uh, hear all the nuggets that are in here. And I'd love to know your thoughts. So please leave your messages. I love to see what they are. Okay, so today's video is all about ex-partners. Now it's the last of the two videos that we'll be doing about past, and then we're going to start looking at the future. And the reason I've started off with looking at the past is because we carry way too much baggage with us about relationships. We absolutely need to make sure that our load is lighter before we can move forward. So, um, first of all, if you find that you are looking back and looking at your previous partners and 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 finding that they are in fact ruling your behaviors as you move forward, so the impact that they've had on you is defining how you make your choices as you go forward, then today is the day for you. So there are three key types in all of this. So there is never as good as, never again, and oops, I've forgotten the third. And the third is if only. God, how could I forget that? If only I had. Right. So never as good as. Never as good as means that you have put your ex-partner on the pedestal. No one is ever going to be as fantastic, amazing, fabulous, gorgeous, sexy, wonderful, the most amazing individual in the world as your ex-partner. Well, the reality is by the time you've put them on a pedestal, probably not themselves as good as the person or the icon that you have put on that pedestal. Nobody is. Nobody is that perfect. You've weeded out all the bad stuff and you've just been left with this amazing person, and you've ramped up the colour, you've ramped up everything about this person until they are absolutely amazing. Well, this is absolutely unfair on you and to some degree on them, but they're gone. They're no longer part of your life. So it's unfair on you primarily because you cannot find a living individual who is in any way equal to this icon that you have upon the pedestal because they are not real. They are not flesh and blood and in front of you. They are an image of something that you wish you'd had, that you wish it was like, because our brains are amazing. The fact that you've kind of grayed out all the unpleasant stuff and maybe the reasons why the whole relationship failed in the first place and just left all the gorgeous bits, then there is no way that that is a whole person. It's a colander. There are so many holes in this, it's ridiculous. So it's time, if this is you, it's time to recognize all of the other bits. So fill the holes in with the grey stuff, the dark stuff, the unpleasant stuff, the stuff that actually started to destroy the relationship in the first place. Because only when you recognize the bad bits will you then start to move on. Next, never again. I am never, ever, ever dating again. So whatever that is, I don't know, blondes, brunettes, tall people, small people, thin people, fat people, whatever it is, that's the wrong thing. You're associating to an attribute instead of the individual themselves. If they were that bad, then understand the traits, the personality which drove you to really dislike them, because that's the piece you've got to look out for next time, rather than, you know, whether they had a certain coloured hair or a physical attribute about themselves. The point that you're looking here for is if they were a pig and they treated you badly, then understand that you're not going to go out with someone who's a pig and who's likely to treat you badly again. And what was it about the way that they treated you? And what was it about them that drove them to treat you like that? That is the piece that you are looking out for next time. Because if you don't recognise that piece, then it's likely you'll make the same mistake, but just with someone who looks slightly different to whatever attribute it was that you were fixating on. I've done this, I put my hand up to it. This one was definitely one of mine. I think that what you have to do is you have to just clear away all of the anger, all of the hate, and actually get down. Use your amazing brain to get down to the issue of what the issue was between you. So it's probably their stuff, but find out for yourself, ask yourself, why were they that way? What is it about X that made them do Y? If they put you down in public, that's unacceptable behaviour. So if that was the case, what drove them? And recognise that part of a person that does that results in X. So you know that next time you are looking for someone, that this piece here is a red flag. Don't go there, don't do that. And if someone puts you down in public, red flag, out. It's absolutely the case that you need to look at that, not whether they were blonde or brunette, that makes no difference whatsoever. Right, okay. Next is, if only I had. Now, the number of women I have spoken to who do the, if only I had been a better person, if only I had, oh my gosh, if only I had not looked at somebody, not spoken to somebody, if only I'd come home earlier, if only I hadn't had my career, if only I hadn't X, Y, Z. In fact, there's a whole alphabet's worth of them. That if you hadn't have done that, then the whole relationship would have been saved. It's not like that at all, because they're an individual, they did what they did, and they are fully accountable for their actions. You may have influenced them to some degree, but in reality, if they behave badly, then that was their choice, not yours. If you were a career woman before you met them and you continued with your career, it's not fair then to blame yourself, because this is who you were well before you met them. It's who you stayed being. So therefore, it's not something for you to blame yourself with. If your career took off after you met them, and this was something that you absolutely wanted, then if that person could not support you through your dreams and aspirations, then they were not the right person for you either. it's important to recognise that you are not holding the full responsibility for the breakdown in the relationship, even if you went off and had an affair. Affairs don't just randomly happen in general. They happen because you're unhappy. If you were blissfully, deliriously in love and happy with this person, then it's massively unlikely that you'd have had an affair in the first place. So it's time to recognise your accountability, absolutely, but equally their accountability. They were accountable for their own actions, just as you are accountable for yours. And you may wish that you hadn't have had the affair or that you hadn't have done something. But if there are drivers underneath that, it's a much more complex picture. If it is the fact that you maintained your career, well, quite frankly, they should have been a big enough person in order to support you through that and celebrated with you. Because what you're looking for, especially at this time in your life, is someone who is adult enough and grown up enough to support you as you move on in your life, because there are going to be lots of challenges, undoubtedly, as you get older, and therefore you need someone who is on your side and supporting you, and equally who you can be on their side. This is an equal game, and it has to be, otherwise it's not going to work. So take accountability for what you had in this breakdown, and equally they must take accountability for them. So it's time to stop blaming yourself, and it's time to stop misguiding all your nevers. If it's never again, I'm never going to date someone like that again, then if it's because they have been terrible and they've been abusive, then I absolutely would recommend you get some specific counselling to do with that. It's really important, and most refuges will help you and show you and give you a list of counsellors that have specific skills in this area. If you never want to be with someone because of a character trait, then make sure that you understand specifically what that is, so that you don't blindly go into the same situation again. And never as good as recognise that even the person you have on that pedestal is not real. No one can be that perfect at all. So it's time to recognise them as a whole person and their faults. And that will enable you to bring them down off the pedestal, see them as a normal person and move on. Because this is now your past. This is no longer part of your future. And as painful as that may be, it's absolutely time to move on. And if you're ready to start looking for another relationship, it's time to start to put those in the past and not to keep turning over and over and over them, because that's exhausting. It's also really damaging for you as an individual. So it's time to look forward, because what's so amazing, and we're going to start doing this in the next video, is you have the most amazing opportunity to define exactly what it is that you are looking for, because everything about your menopause is saying, come on, it's time to start to think about you, what you want and how you want to live your life. So if you find yourself single at this time, it's not a bad thing. It's an amazing opportunity. And we're going to start looking at that next week, so next video rather. So please subscribe so that you get to see when the next one comes up. And good luck. I'm really rooting for you. Remember, let go of the past in order to move forward to the future. Leave your message. I'd love to hear what you've got to say, and I will see you soon.